Welcome back, dear friends, to your daily dose of ancient wisdom. Hope you continue to like and share these podcasts. Today, after completion of the Dvitiya Skanda of Srimad Bhagavata, we begin our book 3 with Discourse 1, Meeting of Uddhava and Vidura. Sri Sukha said, "It is this very question that Vidura asked the worshipful sage Maitreya in the past, when the former had retired to the forest, quitting his prosperous home. It was at Vidura's residence that the Lord Sri Krishna, the ruler of the universe, who happened to visit Hastinapura as an ambassador of your forefathers, the Pandavas, called it as if it were his own house, refusing the hospitality of Kaurava king Duryodhana. The king said, 'Where did Vidura's meeting with the worshipful Maitreya take place, and when did he have a talk with him? Kindly tell me all this, my lord. Surely the question which the pure-hearted Vidura asked of the noblest sage Maitreya could not have been of small consequence, particularly when it was honored with a reply by the saint of no mean order.'" Sutta continued, "Questioned as above by King Parikshit, and much delighted at heart over this, the all-wise Sukha, the foremost of sages, said in reply." Sri Sukha proceeded, "You know how King Dhritarashtra, who was not only blind but had also lost his right judgment and supported his wicked sons through unrighteousness, had his younger brother's fatherless sons, Yudhishthira and others, lodged in a house of lac and same set on fire. Nay, when in open court his second son Dushasana dragged by the hair Dhritarashtra's own daughter-in-law and spouse of King Yudhishthira, Queen Draupadi, whose tears washed off the saffron painted on her bosom, she being covered by a single cloth, the king failed to stop that abominable act of his son. The glueless king Yudhishthira, who was devoted to truth and regarded none as his enemy, was worsted in a gambling bout by unfair means and sent in exile to the forest for a period of 13 years. But when on expiry of the term of exile he returned from the forest and asked back his share according to the terms of the agreement, Duryodhana refused to part with it, blinded as he was with infatuation. When Sri Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, was sent by Yudhishthira to the Kaurava court, he spoke there words which were full of nectar to his devotees Bhishma and others. But the king, Duryodhana, attached no importance to them, since all his stock of merits has been exhausted. Again, when invited by his elder brother Dhritarashtra, Vidura entered latter's private chamber and was asked to give him advice. That crest jewel of wise counselors gave a piece of advice which politicians still speak of with reverence as Vidura Niti, the counsel of Vidura. Vidura said, "Return the share of Yudhishthira, who regards none as his enemy, and who has been tolerating the wrongs done by you, even though they are hard to bear. He, followed by Bhima, whom you are terribly afraid of, and who with his younger brother Arjuna and others is hissing in fury as a serpent. The cause of Pandavas, the sons of Pritha, has been expounded by Lord Sri Krishna, the bestower of liberation, himself who is adorned as a deity by Yadava chiefs, who is staying at present in his own capital, Dwaraka, having conquered big sovereigns, and who has all the Brahmanas and gods on his side. It is evil incarnate that has entered your house in person of Duryodhana, whom you are fostering as a son, and who is an enemy of the Supreme Person, Sri Krishna. That is why you too have turned your face against Sri Krishna and lost your splendor. Therefore, in the interest of your race, abandon this unlucky fellow at once. Vidura had a disposition which was coveted even by saints. But when he uttered these words, on that spot the anger of Duryodhana and his companions Karna, Dushyasana, and Shakuni, son of Subala and Duryodhana's maternal uncle, knew no bounds. Began to quiver, and Duryodhana insultingly interposed. Who has called this crooked son of a maid servant here? Hostility disposed towards the master, myself, on whose crumbs he has grown fat, he works for the enemy's cause. Although his life may be spared, he should be banished from my capital at once. Cut to the quick by these poignant words, which pierced his ears like shafts in the presence of his brother King Dhritarashtra, but recognizing the greatness of Lord Maya, the deluding potency, Vidura did not feel the least perturbed in mind and quietly left the place himself, depositing his bow at the gate. Vidura, whose birth in the race of Kurus had been secured as a result of great merit, departed from Hastinapura and with a view of acquiring religious merit undertook a pilgrimage to all holy places on earth's surface, sacred to the Lord, whose feet are even hallowed, and where Lord resides in 1,001 forms. Unaccompanied by anyone else, he visited on foot cities, sacred groves, mountains, bowers, rivers, and lakes containing limpid water, and holy places graced with the Lord's image. He perambulated the earth in a garb of recluse, so that he could not be recognized by his own people, lived on pure food such as fruit, etc., dropped from the trees, bathed in all sacred water without exception, slept on ground, never made his toilet, and observed vows that pleased Sri Hari. While he was yet traveling in the land of Bharatavarsha and reached Prabhasa near Dwaraka, King Yudhishthira, son of Pritha, had established himself with the help of Sri Krishna as universal and undisputed sovereign of the entire globe. There at Prabhasa, he heard how his kinsmen, the Kauravas, had perished due to the mutual jealousy, even as a thicket of bamboos is consumed by a fire produced by the friction of one bamboo against another. Grieving over the holocaust, therefore, he quietly repaired to the banks of Saraswati, where it flows in a westerly direction. On the banks of that river, he visited and stayed at 11 different spots, severally sacred to the memory of sages like Trita, Usna, the father of Shukracharya, and Asita, Swayambhu Manu, King Pruthu, the god of fire, the wind god, King Sudasa, the cows, Guha, god Kartikeya, the eldest son of Lord Shiva, and King Shraddhadeva or Vaivasvata Manu, and many other sanctuaries in that area. Concentrated to Lord Vishnu, founded by the holy sages and gods, and containing temples that bore their domes the mark of Sudarshana, the chief of his weapons, the very sight of which reminded one of Lord Sri Krishna. Journeying thence through the prosperous land of Saurashtra and kingdoms of Sauvira, Matsya, and Kurujangala, he reached in due course the banks of Yamuna, where he came across Uddhava, another great devotee of the Lord. Vidura fondly clasped in close embrace this celebrated servant of Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, who had attained perfect serenity of mind and was an erstwhile pupil of the sage Brihaspati, the preceptor of gods, and inquired of him the welfare of his relations, the Yadavas, the proteges of the Lord. The two primal persons, Sri Balarama and Sri Krishna, appeared in human semblance on this globe in response to the prayer of Brahma, who was born to the very lotus that sprung from the Lord's own navel. Having relieved the earth of its burden and brought delight to the whole world, are they doing well in the house of Surasena, the father of Vasudeva? Dear Uddhava, is our brother-in-law, sister's husband, Vasudeva, son of Surasena, quite happy? Vasudeva, who is the greatest friend and well-wishers of Kuru, and who is like father, liberally bestows his sisters Kunti and others the gifts of their choice, bringing satisfaction by the offering rich presents even to their husbands. Again, dear friend, is our heroic Pradyumna, the generalissimo of Yadava force, quite well? Pradyumna, who is no other than the god of love in his previous incarnation, and whom his mother Rukmini secured from the Lord by propitiating the Brahmanas. He is Ugrasena, the ruler of the Sattva Vrishnis, Bhojas, and Dasaranas, prospering. Ugrasena, whom the lotus-eyed Lord Sri Krishna installed on the throne of Mathura, even though he had stood aloof, having lost all hope of regaining the throne, is Sri Hari, Sri Krishna's son Samba, who is equal to his father and the foremost of car warriors, faring well. O General Uddhava, Samba, who is no other than the god Guha from goddess Ambika Parvati, bore in her womb in the past, and to whom Jambavati, the daughter of Jambavan and one of the 8 principal consorts of Sri Krishna, gave birth, once again as a fruit of her religious observances? Is that Yuyudhana or Satyaki quite happy, who received the secrets of bowmanship from Falguna or Arjuna, and who easily secured through the mere service of Lord Adhokshaja or Sri Krishna the position of his devotee, which is difficult to be attained even for an ascetic? Is the wise and sinless Akrura, son of Swapnhalka, quite healthy? Akrura, who is devoted to the Lord and who besides himself with love rolled about in the dust of the road marked with the footprints of Lord Sri Krishna? Is all well with Devaki, daughter of Devaka, the chief of Bhoja clan of Kshatriyas, who, as a good mother of Lord Vishnu, as Aditi, the mother of gods, and who bore the Lord in her womb, even as the 3 Vedas bear the extensive ritual, the elaborate details, and the procedure of various sacrifices as their import? Is the divine Aniruddha, the grandson of Lord Sri Krishna, perfectly all right? Aniruddha, who grants the desire of his worshippers like you, and whom the scriptures have declared as the source of the Vedas and deity presiding over the mind or manas, which constitutes the 4th part of the inner sense, which is a composite of 4 elements, namely Chitta, Anahakara, Buddhi, and Manas. And are other people such as Hridika, a Yadava chief, the son of Satyabhama, Charusena, Pradyumna's real brother, and Gada, a brother of Sri Krishna, faring well? O gentle Uddhava, people who are exclusively and fully devoted to Sri Krishna, the Lord in their heart, doing well? Does King Yudhishthira, who is virtue personified, protect the law according to the principles of righteousness with the help of his 2 arms, Vijaya, namely Arjuna, and Achyuta, Lord Sri Krishna? Yudhishthira, at the sight of whose imperial fortune and attendant glory in the court built by Maya, the architect of demons, Duryodhana burned with jealousy? Has Bhima, who is most relentless like a serpent, given up his long-standing grudge against those who wronged him, namely the Kauravas? Bhima, whose tread the earth could not bear as he moved about on the battlefield, revolving his mace in a variety of ways while actually engaged in a fight? Is Arjuna, the wielder of Gandiva bow, the most renowned of the leading car warriors, now at peace with his enemies, having subdued or destroyed them all? Arjuna, who won the pleasure of Lord Shiva, disguised as Kirata or the hunter, beyond all recognition by hiding him with a volley of arrows? Do the twin brothers Nakula and Sahadeva, the foster sons of Pritha, who enjoyed the protection of their half brother, the son of Pritha, even as eyeballs are protected by the eyelashes, rejoice after recovering their ancestral share from enemy's hand through the arbitrament of war, as though a pair of Garudas had snatched nectar from the mouth of Indra, the wielder of thunderbolt? Oh, Pritha, my sister in law, is surviving merely for the sake of her children, though bereaved of Pandu, that foremost of royal sages, who, a matchless hero and foremost car warrior that he was, had conquered all four quarters with no other companion than his bow. I feel concerned, O gentle Uddhava, for that brother of mine, Dhritarashtra, who is paving his way for hell, inasmuch as he wronged his own deceased half brother Pandu, in the person of his sons, the Pandava, and who banished me, his well wisher, from his capital Hastinapura, having yielded completely to the will of his sons. I am, however, not the least surprised or sorry for his behavior towards me, for it is Sri Hari, Sri Krishna, the supreme ruler of the universe, who bewilders the intellect of men by following the ways of mortals. I am therefore moving about in this world, unperceived by others, observing his glory by his grace. The Lord overlooked for the time being the wrongdoings of the Kauravas, though capable of punishing them then and there, for he sought to relieve the distress of those who had taken shelter in him by exterminating with them other monarchs too, who in their threefold pride of birth, wealth, and learning had strayed from the path of virtue and shook the earth with their armies again and again. The birth and doings of the Lord, who is really birthless and actionless, are only for the extirpation of the wrongdoers as well as for attracting people towards himself. Otherwise, to say nothing of the Lord, what man that has transcended the three gunas, modes of Prakriti, would tie himself down to a corporal body or pursue an elaborate course of activity? Therefore, O friend, tell me the news about the Lord of sacred renown, who, though devoid of birth, has descended in the race of Yadu for the good of all guardians of the different spheres who sought refuge in him, as well of such other devotees as ever at his beck and call. Thus ends the first discourse in Book 3, consisting of a dialogue between Vidura and Uddhava of great and glorious Sri Bhagavata Purana, otherwise known as Paramahamsa Samhita. Thank you.